Welcome to Straight Out the Box. It's myself, Tailz. Today I got a special guest, somebody that I've known for a little minute now. Do you know what I mean? She's a bright, bubbly person. Every time I see her, always haggling me down, you know.
Pardon? First of all, I know this is your intro, but I have to kind of interject because we're going to give people the wrong impression.
No.
So yeah, you're my buddy, you're my boy. Don't act like I hassle you. You're like Mr. Voice Note every single day for the most simplest things. Mm-hmm. And you're the only person I actually listen to voice notes. Are you crazy?
Do you know what? And thank God for WhatsApp making voice notes, because typing is long. but she's a bright, bubbly person, and I thought it was only right to have her on this show. I would like to welcome Faith.
Hey. Finally.
Yeah, finally. I know it's been a long time, and obviously where our timetables, it's been a clash, and obviously I know you've been away, so you've been...
Well, that's what I do.
Living your life.
My name is Black Wanderess, and I wander. So I travel a lot. Well, I'm trying to anyway.
Right.
So yeah, this last month I've been in Uganda, then went to Germany. So, you know, just somebody who likes to travel, a wanderess. I'm not saying it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be what you expect from like travel vloggers. But I just kind of show people what I do when I go away.
Okay.
So when I was in Uganda, it was just off the beaten track. So obviously things I did in the village.
Yeah.
I did some cooking in the village, which was really exciting. Yeah. And, you know, I went to festivals. I didn't really do too many touristy things, so that's not what I do.
Yeah.
And that's what I intend to do with everywhere that I go.
Yeah. Do you know what? But that's a good thing, because it also gives us an insight of maybe that's a place that we would want to go one day.
Well, definitely you, because we've had this chat before. That,
definitely. You know, it's going to happen.
I don't know if your audience know, but obviously we're both Ugandans.
Yeah.
And I go home all the time, and I've been trying to get you to do it as well. And just because I know you have this fear that it's going to be like a bit too extreme for you.
Bearing in mind, I've never really gone with someone within my age group.
We have to go together so I can show you your country in a different way.
Yeah. No, definitely. But with that being said, obviously we came here today. We're here for a topic, and do you want to say what the topic is?
I'll come prepared.
It's good to know that, you know, people come on my show prepared and everything like that. So I'm going to let you introduce what the topic is.
This one is interracial adoption, and you gave me a toughie, which I like. You gave me a tough one. Right. So yeah, today we're talking about interracial interracial adoption.
Before you get into that, I want to know what's your personal views about adoption.
I don't think there's a simple answer. I think for me it's complex. Personally, as somebody who have always wanted to adopt since I was young, that was always been my dream, and it still is to adopt.
Yeah.
But when I ask myself, when it comes to the time, hopefully I can adopt, who will I adopt?
Right.
And I never envision adopting anybody that's not my skin color.
Yeah.
That's not because I don't think I could love a white child or an Asian child or whatever. It's just because naturally that's who I see in my head.
Yeah.
I personally am mixed about this. I think it's brilliant because there's so many children that need a loving home. And I think love crosses barriers over race, over differences, over culture. Love, you know, like is just everything. But then also there's the negative sides of it.
Yeah.
And the things that you worry about.
Oh, of course.
Culturally, cultural differences. You know, not everybody has the best intention at heart. Some people's intention are not as pure as they should be. It's hard. I don't think it's like a fully, I think it's brilliant. I actually know, do you know what? I've made up my mind. I think it's okay. I think if the intentions are good, the adoptive parents and family try their best to raise that child knowing as much of their original roots as possible, then I think it's okay.
See, do you know what? For me, is I'm happy for it because, like you said, a child gets a home and finds a home regardless of whatever the race the child is in comparison to the parents. I've seen in some instances where bullying happens and everything like that. And, you know, where it's a black family raising a white child and raising them to know your culture, whether you're African or whether you're Caribbean, there can be a little bit of confusion, especially amongst kids. It's a lot of pressure because, you know, it's one thing as a parent you saying, do you know what, don't listen to these things that people are saying, but it's very hard to ignore something that's very much in your face, i.e. when you go to the school or social media where there's so much cyberbullying and everything like that. I was watching earlier on today, my little research.
Oh, you did that?
Well, I didn't do the full extent. I was just looking at like people giving testimonies to, you know, ethnic adoption and everything like that. And there was this black girl and she was raised by 2 white parents. And she said that, do you know what? She had a wonderful childhood. They gave her everything that she would want in a parent. Obviously, although that there was differences and at times it proved a bit difficult when it came to relating to their culture, but they, through all of those transgressions and everything like that, she managed to become somewhat successful in the career that she's chosen.
I don't doubt that, but does she feel like she's missing something?
Yeah, that was a point in her early years. You know, as any kid that's being adopted, you still want to get to know your real roots and where you come from. And it's very much hard when you don't have that. Adoption agencies still keep the biological parents' details on their database, but for others that may have lost contact or however it happened, for them it's a bit difficult, and there's always going to be that gap. For me, if I was to adopt, like yourself, I would adopt a black child. I wouldn't frown against adopting another race, but I think that I would like to have kids on my own that are of my black heritage or my culture first before I go on then to adopt whether white, Asian, Chinese, or etc. But you see, if your partner said, you know what, I do want to adopt, like you said you wanted to adopt, but I want to adopt of another race. Would you be up for it, or would that be something that you would have to question?
I'd be up for it.
100%.
100%. The reason being, I mean, of course, there'll be a discussion as to why, in particular, do you want to go that route? Like, what is it? Because, you know, before you can make that type of decision, I would need to feel in myself that I can give that child everything that it needs. Of course, yeah, you give it a house and you feed it, you bathe it, whatever. But I mean, it's culture. Can I actually fulfill? And for me, culture is a big thing. Yeah. So I can't imagine that I would have missed out on all my culture if I was raised in a different ethnic home. Yeah. You know, and this, you know, I can't imagine that. So it would be a serious questioning of myself and my partner. Can we actually do this child justice? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's not a question of love. Could I love the child? I would love the child regardless. It's a question of, will I be able to do this child justice? And I don't think I could. I don't think I would be able to fully give it what it needs. Do you know what I mean? In that sense of things. Because there's only so much I can do, because I was brought up in an African household, an Ugandan household. So that's all I know. So now try to teach somebody, you can read things from books, but there's some things you can't read in books.
That's true.
There's things you just grow up knowing, and I can't fill that gap. But I know I'm contradicting myself. I still wouldn't be able to say no. I know it's hard. It's hard. You're really making me question myself. Could I adopt a different child? Yes. Yeah. But would it be easy? No. It's hard. What would you do?
I mean, if I was to adopt another race, just to put out there, it will be a child of an ethnic background, whether Asian, Chinese. Yeah. Someone from like a third world country or something like that. And to answer your question, you know me already, so I would like to raise my child sort of like in my image. Yeah. As you said, there's always going to be that gap. As much as you can teach, there's certain things you can't teach. That's where the difficulty of it is. Like, for example, just to go off topic for a second, like, you know, when like in the area of London, you might have your white guy, you might have your Asian guy, and you might have your Chinese guy, but they all adopt the black mentality, the way they speak, the way, and it's always mad when you say like, why are you trying to act black for? Like, be you. To be fair, we should embrace that because they want to be like us, but they get bashed for it. And I don't want my child that I've adopted necessarily going through that and going through all of these pressures of you're never going to be this, that, and the other. Not like to say I want them to be black, but I just want them to be in the image of me. Do you know what I'm saying? Learn to respect, love others. Do you know what I mean? But I would like to think that I would, but if it was brought right here in front of me, not right now, not as my first child. Yeah. I'd rather have my own children first before I even think of looking after another child from outside of our home.
So this leads me on to thinking, if you date, for example, a white woman or a Chinese woman, and she has kids, the father isn't in the picture, you in a long-term relationship with her, this is like your last bus stop, as I call it. Like, this is the one. And it comes to the conversation of, do you want to adopt the kids to make them, officially on paper your children? Would you adopt them?
I would adopt them because obviously, as much as I'm in love with my partner, I met my partner already with her kids.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So they come as a package anyway. So I knew what the package deal was when I entered into. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Whereas if this is, I've met you one-to-one and you're Chinese, let's say, for example, and you said, you know what, I want to adopt a Chinese child. I'll be for it if we can't have kids.
So it's if we can't have kids.
Yeah, so if
you can naturally have kids, adoption is not for you.
If I had kids and I was financially stable, I would adopt kids. Because do you know what? From a very young age, I've always thought about adopting kids once I've had my kids and I am financially stable. Bearing in mind, even if I was to have my kids and I'm just getting by with my kids, then adoption's out the window.
Full stop.
Yeah, regardless of race,
adoption's
full stop.
There's no. It's like even having children, biological children. It's not sensible to have kids that you can't afford to look after. There's no kids. Exactly. There's no point in having kids you can't look after, give it love. That doesn't make sense. So yeah, I have a question.
Go on.
You said, going back to something you said before. You said that if you were to adopt outside of your race, it would be from another coloured group. Yeah. Why not white? I assume that's the angle what you're getting at.
Why not white? I think, do you know what it is? I think in relation, even though we're not culturally the same, I think a lot of our struggles are a lot similar. That's why I could relate more to someone of an ethnic background. We have references with each other where I wouldn't have that. I'm not saying I would never adopt a white child. It's just that's my go-to kids from an ethnic background.
So if you were to adopt outside your race, what countries come to mind?
Outside my race, like Chinese.
Can I stop you there? Obviously when I knew I was coming on here and I thought there's no point me coming on to talk about such a topic without having actual facts. Right. So, I pulled some, first of all, there's not much information out there that's easily available for this type of topic. There's a lot of information about adoption, but not about interracial, or they call it intercountry adoption. So I pulled a few from the UK and a lot more from the US. So now the UK doesn't really go into a lot of detail about intercountry, interracial adoption, but the US really goes to town. So I was surprised to learn, and give me a second, I've got quite a bit for you. I was really surprised. So if I were to ask you, what country do you think Americans adopt from the most, or what continent? What comes to mind?
Country or continent?
Yeah, both. What do you think?
I would say it's either got to be either Africa or Asia in terms of continent.
Okay, so this is for the year starting April 1st, 2017, all the way until 31st of March, 2018. Yeah. And this is for the US. This is according to the US Department of State. So, the facts are correct, should be correct. In total, for that year, there were 4,059 adoptions.
Right.
And of those 4,059, 1,475 are from China.
I'm not surprised that because like look at the population of Chinese compared to the rest of us. Do you know what I mean?
Very true. But for me, I think I've got this image in my head.
Yeah.
Because whenever we talk about interracial adoption, the first thing you think of is white people adopting black kids.
True.
Right?
True.
It doesn't the image of white people adopting Chinese children doesn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not to say, obviously, of those 1,475, they were all adopted by white people. That's of course, that can't be true. I'm sure it's a mix.
Yeah.
I assume predominantly maybe it's also Chinese Americans and white Americans.
Can I just quickly ask before you carry on with your notes? Do they say by what type of couples? Are it single parents? Is it couples?
Don't.
Oh, okay,
I'm sure the information's out there, but what I pulled didn't say that.
Okay.
So it literally breaks down. I mean, I can. They've got all the countries here that kids were adopted from.
Yeah.
So obviously, I looked at Uganda and I thought, let me see what that is. And what's your guess? What do you think it's going to be for you, G?
What? How many?
Yeah. How many kids do you think were adopted by US citizens in that year?
I'd say. I'm thinking low numbers, so I'm thinking maybe 100.
26.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't think that low.
26 and 23 were finalized abroad. So I'm assuming those 23 were children, obviously from actually were living in Uganda, and 3 were finalized in the US. So maybe they were there already somehow, but only 26.
I mean, I'm happy that they're looking in Uganda. I put it that way. I know it sounds like a consolation, but like at least we're getting looked at as well. It's interesting to know what race were their parents that's adopted.
It would be good to know. I wish that information was
so that I can tally up like what were the reasons they picked that particular race and everything like that. But even with that being said, are they adopting them from their countries or people within the US?
Well, I've got the information here. So, for example, with the Chinese, So with the Chinese was 1,000 and odd number. Right. 1,475 were finalized abroad. So they were adopted from China and then brought over to the US. That's what I'm taking from this because it has 2 columns here. Adoptions finalized abroad and then adoptions to be finalized in the US. So that, to me, suggests that the children are there already and it just needs to be signed, finalized.
Would you... In the process of adopting another race, would you adopt from back home of whatever country they're from, or would you?
I'd go back home.
Here, back home.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I think if the purpose of me adopting is to give a child a stable and happy home, I will sum up that who needs more support. So, for example, if I'm going to adopt a child that's already in the UK, of course, I'm sure, they still need as much love. However, there's more services here for them. Do you see in a more of a practical sense? There's more services here for them, more support. They can still get an education.
Right.
All of those types of things. They can still get, we hope they're being looked after health-wise, all that type of... But back home, the facilities aren't there. It's just not there. It doesn't exist like that. Most of the children that are needing adoption, those centers are funded by charities, and they just don't have the things in place that the UK does or the US to look after these children in care. They don't have it. So I would definitely, unless to me, it just says I would go home.
I totally agree with everything that you said. I just think for me, in terms of, the paperwork and everything like that, I would just be quick to just adopt from here.
Can I tell you something funny?
Go on.
So while I was doing my research, because obviously that puts people off. A lot of people, they want to, their heart really wants to do it, but it's the process that kills people. So I couldn't get stats for the UK about how long it takes, but I assume it's going to be somewhere on par with the US. So on average in the US, it takes 400 days to be completed. So that's over a year. And then let's talk about cost, because I was, last night I was having a good brainstorm to thinking, first of all, I need to talk about the amount of children that are in care and then how many are actually adopted each year,
Yeah.
it made me think, why are people not adopting? Why are we so not open for it?
Yeah.
Then obviously it led me on to thinking, like you said, the time process is too long.
Yeah.
Then obviously cost is a big factor that will put people off. So if the 400 days on average doesn't put you off, the cost is going to put you off.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the UK, there's no fees other than, legal fees. So obviously the documentation, that type of stuff, and police checks. Obviously they do background checks to make sure that you're not a criminal or a danger to the children.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they do to make sure you're in good financial standing so that you can actually do it. But there's no agency. There's an agencies that can charge you money.
Right.
However, in the US, and this is how I really salute the US for really, adopting. Yeah. On average, it can cost from anywhere from $0 to $64,357, and that's information again taken from the US State Department.
Gee, that's a lot of money. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
So let's they said on average, just over 50%, charge that top bracket.
Yeah.
So let's say the average of that is, let's say you're spending 32 grand. With this, inter-country adoption, there was a program that I watched, maybe it was about a couple of years ago. I think you can still get it on Netflix or whatever. And it is called The Traffickers.
Right.
And it's by, and I'm going to try do my best with her name, Nelufar Hedayat. Okay. And she has a program called The Traffickers, and I watched that, and it was literally about intercountry adoption, interracial adoption, where people from the US were adopting from African countries and the process that they go through. Yeah, yeah. And my heart bled for these people because a lot of them get ripped off left, right, and center. Yeah, yeah. And I was reading on the US that website that a lot of issues are raised. They said that there's these problems arising, that there are a lot of returns of children back to their home countries because of reasons such as false or fraudulent adoption process. Right. Kids have been taken away from their families illegally. Health reasons, they arrive with health issues that they weren't aware of, and they can actually return the children. They can say, I don't want this one anymore. Oh wow. Yeah. So they have to go through a whole process. I think it was some US convention. They have to go through a whole process. It's not easy as if you're going to Tesco's and saying, here's my receipt, I want my money back. Yeah. But they can return them if obviously there's those types of reasons. And from this program that I watched, it is so common that people who have best intentions, these agencies that are based in the US and also have, partner agencies in these other countries, they take their money and run.
Actually, I've been seeing a few, but these are actual films, but based on stuff that's actually happened. Kudos to the Americans for actually really digging deep into their pockets if it's costing an average of $64,000. I don't know if we would pay 32 grand, like the average person would pay 32 grand for something that's hit. Like, because, no, listen, this, like for some would look at it like 32 grand, that's almost a deposit on a mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, yeah. And remember, you're not always guaranteed as well. And that's the only thing. And I think for me, if I was on that process to pay that amount of money, it will hurt my heart to know that I've paid that. But essentially, it will hurt my heart the fact that I'm not able to adopt a child. Do you know what I mean? So kudos to them. But how many, did you tell me the stats of how many the UK's adopted? Okay,
so I can only tell you, and really, to be fair, I went on so many websites, I even went to the Office of National Statistics. They have nothing available based on this stuff. Yeah. So I could only pick out the general stuff on adoption. Yeah. So for the same year, so from April 1st, 2017 to 31st of March, 2018, in total for that year, there were 75,420 children in care.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. And of those 75,420, only 3,820 were adopted. And they break it down by ethnic origin.
Right, go on.
So of those 3,820 children that were adopted, 3,210 of those were white.
Okay, go on.
Mixed origin, 380.
Right.
Asian or Asian British, 50.
Right.
Black or Black British was 70.
Okay.
And other ethnic groups were 50.
Right.
And other that they couldn't categorize were 80. But can I say, this next fact really hurt me. On the National Register of Children waiting to be adopted, 30% of those are from a Black, Asian or mixed ethnic origin. I could be completely wrong. Let's say those 75,420 children that were in care, all children looked after children. And of those 75,000, let's say they're all available for adoption. I'm not sure. It doesn't break it down, but I'm assuming so. That means that 30% equals 22,626.
That are Black. Or
Black
British,
Asian or mixed.
Asian, yeah.
Yeah. Also, there was another fact that really broke it down and really hurt me. 70% of those, of the Black, Asian and mixed ethnic children waiting to be adopted, 70% of those are based in London.
You know what? That is surprisingly shocking.
70%.
I did not expect the numbers to be that high. Do you know what? Sometimes I wonder, like, what's going on within our system behind closed doors.
You've asked me, would I adopt outside of my race? And let's say I said no. Yeah?
Right.
Like, no, it's not for me. Let's just say that, for example, we aren't as a people doing enough. We're not adopting. It's hypocrisy for us to say we don't want people out who are not Black or not Asian or not mixed to adopt our children, but we're not adopting them ourselves. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And that made me really angry. Like, I got pissed off, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Because I was thinking, these numbers are not okay. Yeah. So you're telling me from last year, 3,210 white children were adopted and 610 from different ethnicities. That number is so disproportionate.
Yeah. But you see from those numbers, does it say what the race is? So was it that 3,210, was that by white parents?
They don't say.
Oh, okay.
But I just know that they're white children that were adopted.
Yeah.
But then, like, it comes back to the fact that we're not doing enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And, we shouldn't have the balls to say or complain, though I don't like this, I'm sick and tired of... No, these are conversations I've heard. People being pissed off or getting angry or getting emotional about seeing the white lady in the shopping centre with her adopted Black child. It either comes down to we either pick up the buck and we do our part and we do as what we can. Yeah. Because if they can do it, we can do it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So of course that is money involved, but it's not going to be anywhere near what they pay in the US. So let's forget about money for a second. Of course, you should only adopt when you can financially do so. So that's already slimmed down the possibility, the people that can possibly adopt. Already narrowed it down. We're only talking to a select bunch of people. Yeah? Why are we not doing it then?
All right, financially stable. 2, if you have a criminal record, then that goes against you. And there's a lot of people that were in the life of crime and changed their life around. They may want to adopt and they may want to go through these process of loving a child and everything like that. But obviously their past hinders them from actually taking on a child. Yeah. But I'm only speaking for that like minute few. I get the whole criminality thing with it, and you don't want someone from that have to have a criminal background. But sometimes people change. I think depending on your crime, you should be allowed to go through the adoption stage.
This is my guess. I could be completely wrong, but I think they allow certain offences. So, for example, if you've got like a driving offence, I don't think they're gonna say no. I think.
Sorry, pardon me.
And I see what you're saying is true. And that's another conversation completely. That's a big conversation as to our conviction rates and things like that. It's completely different conversation because it's a biggie. However, we also need to look at the flip side of it. Like you said, certain ones shouldn't be allowed to adopt, and that's bloody rightly so, because at the end of the day, this is a child. This is a human life. No, I wouldn't want certain characters being in charge of. So you do know what I mean? It goes both ways.
Yeah, I think, but you're definitely right in saying that. Why aren't we, as a people, as a community, doing a lot more?
Why is it frowned upon? Because if you were to go home and have a conversation, let's say there's a family gathering, and you had a conversation. I've made a decision. I'm going to adopt a child. Tell me what their reaction would be.
Well, first things first, my mum would just tell me straight, well, are you not trying to make children of your own? Yeah, literally.
And that's exactly what would happen. The first thing's like, oh, can you not have kids?
Yeah.
Or like, there's this whole stigma around adoption that I can only say about my culture, like my people, that's so backwards that it goes into the fact that we're not adopting children. It's like a frowned upon thing. Like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Not like that's brilliant. Yeah. And I know, like, I have white friends who have adopted children.
Oh, okay.
And the conversation is completely different.
How do you mean?
The conversation is like, that's brilliant. Oh my gosh. That's like your heart, that's a lovely thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
If we were to have that conversation, it'd be like, but why? Yeah, is there something wrong?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Medically, is there something wrong with you?
Like, are you not able to have kids?
It's like there has to be something wrong, not because you just want to actually provide a home to a child.
Yeah.
That's even before you get into the fact that, oh, I'm going to adopt a white child. Oh, I'm going to adopt a child. Do you know what I mean? Then that is that's like definitely no. Like,
no. Do you know what it is? I think, like, my mom's, at the end of the day, she'll support me whatever decision that I'll end up making. If I want to adopt a white, Chinese or whatever. But yes, I would essentially first get that question, can I not have kids, or is there something wrong and whatnot? But then I think also she would then turn to try to sway me, even though my decision is my own decision.
Yeah.
Someone back home in Uganda.
Yeah. That's natural. Like, it's like, look after your own, isn't it? Family, when we talk about family, we talk about it as like a tribe. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd call you family, even though we don't share blood. But you're my people, you're my tribe. Do you see what I'm saying? So we look out for each other, we look out for our own. And that's our defense mechanism because of our history. That's just inbuilt in us now, that we look out for our own. Rightly or wrongly, we look out for each other first.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a natural thing that should be like, oh, hold up. Okay, if you're going to do it, go back home.
Yeah.
I know XYZ, this person,
Yeah. All right, let me ask you, because you said your friends have adopted of the same race?
Yes, of the same race.
Right. Now, like, my mum got a church friend. She's Ghanaian. She adopted a black child, but it's of a Caribbean heritage.
Right.
He's embraced, because obviously she's raised him in an African household. So you would think he's Ghanaian. Do you know what I mean? But I'll never forget that point where, he wants to know
his root, his Jamaican roots. Yeah, it's Caribbean. Sorry, I'm just not saying he's Jamaican. It's Caribbean.
Do you know what? To be fair, I just know he's Caribbean. I don't actually know what country, but because at the end of the day, when he goes in and he's ticking boxes, is
what's he gonna tick?
Caribbean.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's
the blood that's running through his veins.
Exactly. So
even though that blood's still African, but anywho, that's
you
all
take it there.
Well, you have to take it there because I have to have this conversation quite regularly in my house.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like.
Oh yeah. I just realized.
But it's a conversation because just this is off the topic, but I have to say it.
Yeah.
So like, there's a certain somebody, I'm not going to name her name.
Right.
Certain somebody who's Jamaican and has a complete issue with Africans. Like, it's called me all sorts of names.
Yeah.
About my African heritage.
Right.
But then that also just shows that she doesn't know her roots.
Flipping it back to my adopted son, obviously he's gonna say, do you know what? I'm Caribbean.
Yeah.
But Mum's Ghanaian. I still embrace the Ghanaian culture. And
how old is he?
Like that. He should be 14 or 15 now.
Okay, and what?
She adopted him when he was 6 or 7.
Okay.
So quite older in the years. But for her, she was a single parent. Well, single basically. Obviously, she couldn't have kids. And for her, church-going person, she just wanted a kid to love.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if you have it in your research there, if you can get to pick and choose your child or you get what you're given.
No, you get to choose. Generally, you they have to have a match. Like they can't. You have to. It's not like a lucky dip. You like I believe. I know for the US, you pick and choose. Like you go to like going to pick your sweets in the sweet shop.
Yeah,
I want that one.
Yeah,
I want this one.
Yeah.
I was watching a show based on UK adoption, and I believe it's almost the same thing. I think they give you like a pot to choose from. So I think you actually select. Okay. When you're filling out your forms, what child you prefer. So what ethnicity, what age.
Yeah.
You get to pick all of that. So you already narrowed down your pot. And then it's a question of going through profiles, I believe, and then picking a child that you feel some type of way for, I believe.
I don't know what her thing was, whether it was any age, and she just didn't mind. She just wanted a child, or she specific thought, do you know what? I'm getting older in my years now. I don't really want to do the sleepless nights and all of that. So if I'm going to go for the demographic of, let's say, between the age of 5 and 12, let's say, for example, a line of black kids, but I might want that one base because, you know what, he's got good genes. Let's just say, I like the hair. So, do you know what, I'm going to take you. I think, for me personally, picking's good, gives you the option, but sometimes I think you should get what you're given, to be fair.
But that can also lead to problems.
True.
You don't want somebody to adopt a child that's not theirs, and then they don't have any type of bond with them. They don't, and then and then returning a child is not nice.
Yeah, true.
So I think of course you're going to get those kids that unfortunately that are left there that are going to be in the system until they're old enough to leave the system, and they're never going to get adopted because they've never been chosen. Yeah. And that's awful.
Cool. Exactly.
But then also I think that if somebody is opening up their doors to adopt a child, the least you can do is let them choose. But actually something just popped into my mind talking about choice. I believe adoption agencies try to promote that you should adopt the same race.
Oh, okay.
They can't make it like you cannot adopt outside of your race.
Yeah.
But they highly suggest that you should.
Yeah.
Because obviously the concerns that there are about feeling, identity, feeling a certain type of culture, they try to promote and it's also with like fostering. They try to place foster children as much as possible with their own background. So at least the child feels a bit more, you can see yourself in whoever you're living with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'd never actually asked my mum's friend, like, did she choose the Caribbean child or did she just fell in love with him as soon as
you should ask. You should have that conversation.
Yeah, I should definitely have a conversation with her. But then, with that being said, let me ask you this: if you had the choice, what age group would you start from? Baby, or would you start from like old enough so you don't have to have
Is this me saying that I'll only adopt one?
Yeah.
Woo!
Because I don't know if I'd do
is that at this point of me adopting, do I already have my own kids, or then I would adopt older?
Yeah. Oh, because,
if I already had my own kids and I've experienced those, like, the baby stages, I think definitely I'd adopt older because those are also the kids that get left behind. Yeah. And I'm like you, my heart goes out for them. So it's like, I'd want to pick the ones that have less of a chance. I know that sounds horrible. But I would rather that because I know the young babies always get picked quickly. Because everybody wants a baby that they can just, raise from baby. Yeah. And then all they're going to know is you. Yeah. And I get that. But then the kids that are older get left behind.
No, that's very much true.
I think for me, I'm still open to adopting outside my race.
Yeah.
But it would have to be a strong discussion, a strong questioning of whether I'd be good enough.
Right.
That's my only fear. I don't know if I could give the child everything. That's to be honest with you, that's the only thing that would stop me because I've, my own background, I grew up, obviously born and raised in Oxford. I grew up around majority white people. Yeah. So I've always been called the Mzungu of the group. Yeah. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, explain what Mzungu means.
So it's an East African term for white person.
Right.
So you always hear it. It's not derogatory. It's just a term we use for white people.
Yeah.
So I've always been called Mzungu. To this day, I always get called. Even when I go home, they call me this Mzungu, this Mzungu. So I'm very Mzungu. Yeah. So for me, like, I'm very used to being around a lot of white people. That's mostly what all I knew up until I was 18 and went to uni.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not about because I feel any difference between them or I haven't really been around them. It's simply because I don't know if I could do that child justice.
Yeah.
Let's say I also adopt a Chinese child. Would I be able to teach it how Chinese people are?
True.
Probably not.
Yeah. No, it's I totally agree with you, do you know what I mean, with your concerns, do you know what I mean? I think generally most people would have those and share those same concerns.
If they're honest.
Do you know what I mean?
But I think also if they're honest, people just don't want to deal with that stress of having a child doesn't look like them.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, is there any last things that you want to say?
Yeah, definitely.
We sign out.
To my people, and I'm talking about coloured people. Everybody's my people, but I'm talking about to us, yeah?
Yeah.
We have to do better. We have to do more because these stats are really depressing.
Yeah.
And to think that there's so many children out there that need a home and they're not being adopted.
Yeah.
We have to do better. And then also we need to stop running our mouths and complaining about seeing interracial adoption when we ourselves are not doing our part. I don't want to hear it anymore. Yeah. And I'm glad that I pulled these stats up because I used to be like, when I read these articles, I mean, I'd make a little comment. Yeah. And this is something I've learned and it's taught me something that actually I shouldn't have the audacity or the balls to even complain. Yeah. Because at least these children are being adopted and they're being given a loving home. I'd rather that than they be there by themselves and not feeling loved. Yeah. So I'm here for it.
Well, there you have it. That was the wise words from Faith, aka Black Wanderess.
Whoop whoop.
Let them know your socials.
So my social media, I'm on Instagram. It's Black, so BLACK, Wanderess, which is WANDERESS. So Black Wanderess, all one word. I'm also going to be doing some YouTube. So if you want to follow my traveling and what I get up to, that'll be up and running soon. But definitely click follow on Instagram and give me a little hello. And just let me know that you found me on this show.
And yeah, once again, I'd like to, if I haven't mentioned already, thank you for blessing us with your presence and coming on the show.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it was a long time coming. Like, we've been chatting about this for like 2-3 months, alongside the rest of your stuff that we talk about in voice notes. Yeah. But listen, I have much love for you. That's the only reason why I listen to your voice notes and I still reply. Because a lot of people I literally archive without even opening the message. So that means I got love for you.
So for the people that watched that, do you know what? She just done you hella dirty. She just archived you.
No, bro.
She just archived you.
Yeah? And then sometimes I forget. 2 months later, I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're rude. Well, there you have it. That's straight out the box. And we'll be signing out. Until next time. Peace.
Bye.